Charles Smith's story conveys the message about the power of kindness. What started as a small act of help, from Charles to Sophie, turned into a series of events, leading to an unexpectedly positive change. Let us know where you're watching from. Now, relax and enjoy this amazing story. Charles wiped his hands off the grease with an old rag after finishing the repair on the old pickup truck. The phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. Smith's Garage, Charles speaking. Hi, I'm sorry to bother you, but I have a flat tire. I'm on Route 16, just past the old Sinclair station. I don't know how to change it, and I don't have anyone to call. Can you help? No problem, ma'am. I'll be right there. Sit tight and stay safe by your car. I'll bring my tools. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. As he hopped into his old Ford F-150, his dog Max, a golden retriever with a permanent air of cheerfulness, jumped into the passenger seat. Max had been Charles's companion for years, always eager to tag along. As he approached the Sinclair station, Charles spotted a sleek black car pulled off on the shoulder. A woman in her early 30s stood by the car, looking a little out of place against the rural backdrop. She wore a tailored white blouse and navy slacks, her hair neatly tied back, but her expression was one of discomfort. She glanced at her phone, then at the flat tire, clearly unsure of what to do. Charles pulled over, parking a short distance behind her car. Max hopped out first, tail wagging, and the woman smiled faintly as the dog approached her. My name is Charles, and you must be the one calling. Yes, I'm Sophie. Thank you so much for coming. I wasn't sure who else to call. No trouble at all. The car was a late-model luxury sedan, and the flat tire looked beyond repair, shredded along the sidewall. Looks like this tire is done for. Do you have a spare in the trunk? I think so, but I don't know how to check. No worries, that's what I'm here for. As he opened the trunk and located the spare, he noticed the interior of the car was spotless, almost as if it had just rolled off the dealership lot. This won't take long, Charles made small talk while he worked. The light conversation seemed to put Sophie at ease, and by the time Charles tightened the last lug nut on the spare tire, she was smiling more genuinely. There you go. Good as new, at least until you can get a proper replacement. The spare should hold up for a while. I don't know how to thank you. You really saved me. Just glad I could help. Sophie hesitated, then reached into her purse. She pulled out a sleek black wallet and opened it, but Charles held up a hand. No need for that. Just pay it forward someday, when you get the chance. Are you sure? You came all the way out here. I'm sure. Take care of yourself and drive safely. Thank you, Charles. Really. He loaded his tools back into the truck, whistled for Max, and started the drive back to the garage. What Charles didn't know was that his simple act of kindness had set something extraordinary into motion. The days rolled on at Smith's Garage, blending into the rhythm of small-town life. A week after helping Sophie on Route 16, Charles was elbow-deep in the engine of an old station wagon when a delivery truck pulled up outside the shop. A courier in a crisp uniform approached, holding a clipboard and a small box wrapped in plain brown paper. Charles Smith? That's me. The courier handed him the box and asked for a signature. Charles scribbled his name and watched as the truck pulled away. It was addressed simply to Charles Smith, Smith's Garage, with no return address. Curious, he set the box on his workbench and carefully opened it. Inside was a neatly folded envelope resting atop a pair of shiny, high-tech diagnostic tools. These tools were the kind he'd only dreamed of owning, state-of-the-art equipment far beyond his budget. He opened the envelope, finding a handwritten note inside. Charles, thank you for your kindness and generosity. The world needs more people like you. I hope these tools make your job a little easier. Warm regards, Sophie. Charles leaned against the workbench. He'd never expected anything in return for helping her, let alone something so thoughtful and expensive. He ran his fingers over the tools, marveling at their quality. They would save him hours of work, allowing him to diagnose and repair vehicles faster and more accurately. One afternoon, as he finished installing a new battery in Mrs. Taylor's minivan, the garage phone rang. "Hi, Charles. Hope I'm not bothering you." "Not at all. I was just thinking about you, actually. Those tools you sent, they're incredible. You didn't have to do that." "It was the least I could do. Listen, I was wondering if I could stop by the garage tomorrow. I'd like to thank you in person and maybe talk about something." "Sure. Swing by anytime. I'll be here." The next day, Sophie arrived in the late afternoon. She carried a small bag and greeted Max with a pat on the head before turning to Charles. "It's good to see you." "You too. What brings you by?" "I've been thinking about our conversation the other day, about paying kindness forward. You helped me when I really needed it, and it reminded me of something my father used to say." "What's that?" "He always told me that you can measure a person's worth by how they treat others when there's nothing to gain. And you're one of the good ones." "I just did what anyone should do, nothing special." "It is special. Not everyone takes the time to help a stranger. I wanted to ask if you'd let me do something more to help you." "Sophie, the tools were more than enough, really." "I know, but I have an idea, and I think you'll like it. I want to help your business grow." "Would you let me?" "Grow? How do you mean?" "I'll explain everything. Let's sit down and talk." Charles led her to a small desk in the corner of the shop, cluttered with invoices and coffee mugs. Over the next hour, Sophie laid out her thoughts. She didn't share too much about herself, but spoke with conviction about how Charles could expand his reach, update his equipment further, and even hire a second mechanic to lighten his workload. She promised to support the effort, though she kept the specifics vague. "Why would you go out of your way to do this for me? We barely know each other." "Because people like you remind me of what's important, and because I believe in what you're doing. Let's see where this goes, but no promises. That's all I ask." Over the next few weeks, Sophie became a frequent visitor to Smith's garage. True to her word, she helped Charles organize the shop and taught him a few tricks to streamline his business. Charles couldn't help but notice that she seemed comfortable taking charge, her confidence shining through in the way she spoke and carried herself. One crisp autumn morning, Sophie arrived with a portfolio tucked under her arm. She handed it to Charles with a knowing smile. "What's this?" "It's a proposal. I've been thinking about how to make your business more sustainable. These are just ideas, but I thought they might help." "This is incredible, Sophie. But where would I even begin? I can't afford half of this stuff." "Charles, there's something I need to tell you. You've probably guessed by now that I'm not from around here. I'm not just passing through. I run a successful company." Charles blinked, processing her words. Sophie nodded. "A millionaire?" Charles leaned back in his chair, stunned. "I just thought you should know the truth before we move forward. I want to invest in your garage, Charles, not as some corporate project, but as a way to give back." Charles rubbed the back of his neck, trying to wrap his head around the revelation. "This is a lot to take in. I mean, I appreciate everything you've done already, but are you sure about this? Why me?" Sophie smiled, her eyes shining with sincerity. "Because you didn't judge me when you saw me stranded on the side of the road. You didn't care who I was or what I could do for you. You just helped. That kind of kindness is rare, and it's worth investing in." Charles felt a lump rise in his throat. As Sophie left that day, Charles sat in the quiet of the garage, Max resting at his feet. Charles didn't have the answers yet, but he knew one thing for sure. Sophie's kindness wasn't just about money. One crisp morning, Charles made his decision. Sophie arrived at the garage as she often did, carrying 2 steaming cups of coffee. She was greeted by Max's wagging tail and Charles's easy smile. "I've thought it through. Let's do it, but on one condition." "What's that?" "I don't want to turn this place into some flashy operation that forgets the people it's here to serve. This garage has always been about helping folks who need it, no matter what they can pay. If we're going to grow, I want to keep that at the heart of everything we do." "Charles, that's exactly why I want to help. We'll keep it real, I promise. This is your dream. I'm just here to help it along." With that, they got to work. One afternoon, After a long day of work, Sophie and Charles sat on a bench outside the garage, watching the sunset. Max lay at their feet, content as always. Sometimes, one small act of compassion could change everything. And for Charles, Sophie, and their little garage on the edge of town, it had. A kind act can bring about great changes, not only helping others, but also providing new opportunities for oneself. Even though it may be invisible, yet it is invaluable. Are you willing to fix a car for free like Charles did? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, give it a like and share it with others. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to hear more inspiring stories. Goodbye, and see you soon.